2014, time 1 p.m. Call to order. Special items. This is a special meeting, and we can only discuss what's on the agenda and incidental to those items. I'm going to turn it to the general manager at this point.
So my name is Frank Costner. I'm the general manager with Konocti County Water District. I really appreciate everybody taking their time to be here today. We're having some very difficult times at the treatment plant. We're having a supply and demand issue. So the issues we're having right now is I kind of want to we'll talk about the treatment plant issues first. The declaration of emergency, we'll get into that. So obviously the lake is very low right now. The lake is very low. The water is very warm, and the algae. There's more algae at this time of year than there normally is. So we're having some serious issues. The other issue I have is the demand on the system. There's a lot of people using a lot of water, and it seems to be it's more than normal. It's about a 10% increase or more than normal for this time of year. And this isn't even the time of year when we're normally pumping a lot of water. Normally, we increase our plant in June, but in July and August is when we have the max days. So we're already reaching the max day status right now. We're pumping about anywhere from 500 to 700,000 gallons a day. Normally our plant would be able to keep up with that, but because of the quality of the lake water, we can't keep up with the treating the water and continue to make water. If the demand, right now we're holding our own. If the demand increases any more than it is now, we're not going to be able to make potable water. So basically we're at a point where if people keep on using more and more and more water, we cannot keep up. There is water in the lake, so that's not right now. There is water in the lake. The problem is that the quality of the lake water is such bad condition that the treatment plant just can't keep up with it. So we're going to be declaring an emergency. So we've got county council involved right now, and they are working with us to get the declaration of an emergency. We're going to have that published in the paper, that we're going to have a special meeting. We're going to have a public hearing. So for the declaration of emergency, you need to have a public hearing. And then so at the public hearing, people in the community can express their, how they feel about it, their concerns, pros and cons, and things like that. And then for the next agenda item, the water conservation plan. So in order for us to we have county councils working with us on getting a ordinance together for a water conservation plan. And so basically it's going to be a mandatory conservation plan, and we're going to be restricting the usage of all the customers. So does anybody have anything they want to talk about?
And possibly penalties, is that correct?
Yes, penalties, totally penalties. So legally though, we have to have all of our ducks in a row. So this is the start of this getting our ducks in a row, is having this meeting, getting everybody together and talking about these issues. Because if we're having issues right now at Konocti County Water District, there's going to be other people around the lake who are going to be starting to have these issues coming up. And how I feel about it is that if we don't get a handle on it now, we're not going to have water to drink in the future. So we're at the point now that it's supposed to be in the hundreds next week. We really need to get the word of mouth. We need to be telling anybody that lives in our district to conserve water. The water also, when we do implement the emergency water conservation plan, there's going to be no outside watering. So there's not going to be, nobody's going to be able to have water, any type of, garden or lawn or anything. So that's going to be a big issue, and we're going to need help from people in the community in enforcing those restrictions. So,
do we have any idea what the usage is going to be per household, or how are we going to decide that?
Right now, we're looking at what our average customer usage are, and we're looking at, so a tentative plan would be 600 cubic feet per month would be the normal rates, like from anything from 600 to 3,000 cubic feet would be double the rates, and anything over 3,000 cubic feet would be a $500 fine.
3,000 to what?
No, 3,000 is it. Anybody that uses more than 3,000 cubic feet is a $500 fine.
What was it for 600?
I think, I think there's another step in there. I think there's from 600 to 1,200 is additional, additional step. So anyways, we're formulating the conservation, it's not set in stone yet, but we are looking, we've been doing a rate study and usage study, so we do have the usage study data that's going to help us determine what we're going to allow. But it needs to be, if we don't make it strict enough, nobody's going to go serve water. We need to make it so that this, if you use more than what you should be using, it's going to hurt. So, this is not how we want to do it. We want to be able to supply you guys with water. But unfortunately, for us to be able to supply you with potable water that you can drink, we're going to have to conserve. And this is the first step.
Question?
Yes.
Just wanted to get a comparison of what cubic foot usage is compared to gallons.
So there's 7.48 gallons in 1 cubic feet. So, 600 times 7.48 would be how many gallons that would be per month. So that's your bare, that would be your, you wouldn't pay any penalties. You're just going to go around your business. So you're looking at 4,400 gallons a month. So
Is that a month or for 2 months?
per month.
Okay.
Per month. That's why the ordinance was written up.
It's double that on your
Yes.
bill.
Yes.
So
That 600 cubic feet is 4,400 gallons.
that's very doable, I would think.
Yes. So normally it's about 50 gallons a day per person is the bare minimum. So we're not even down into that range yet. Okay. So we can produce. We feel comfortable producing around 500,000 gallons a day right now. So that's where we're at right now. I believe we produced. So we've been producing around, so here's 575,000, 571,000, 450,000, 450,000, 520,000, 600. So the 400,000 ones, that's when we had to backwash the filter so many times that we couldn't produce water. So that's the thing is that, yes, we can produce water, but we have to do so much treatment to the raw water right now. And this isn't even in the bad season. Normally, it's in August is when the lake water is the worst. So if our water, the raw water is that hard to treat, right now, we're going to have some serious.
It's going to be a lot worse in August.
So on last Friday, we had the Department of Public Health came up, and we did jar testing all day. So we're doing the chemistry on trying to get the best treatment we can. And even with having 10 people there who all have lots of knowledge on doing jar testing and the chemistry of the water, we still couldn't find something that would sink the algae that we're trying to treat. So we're having issues. It's not just, Konocti water isn't you know, doing what they should be doing, and that's why, you know, we're doing everything we can in our power to make the water.
I have a comment.
Yes.
We, in the whole county, we're the area closest to the dam. All the water and all the garbage flows this way. So we're the first one that sees distress. And I've been here 50-some years. I was here in '77 when technically you could walk across the lake. The water might be up to your neck in places. Prior to that, it was here in 1920. There was another year like that, and it was one in the 1880s. So there's 4 instances before this that indicate that this is a natural pattern. The number of houses has not grown, the services has not grown it has not blossomed, but maybe the use of the houses, the residents are now using water for more, washing more cars, more garden, more long showers. And normally this would be okay, but every 35, 40 years, we have one of these things come along, and this is one of them.
No rain, yeah.
It's nobody's fault. We have been aware of it for a number of years. We have a number of programs that will allow us to remedy some of this over a period of time, but none of it's going to be available for this particular year. We had no idea that the blooms were going to come in force so early. And that's really what the situation is. The algae, which normally wouldn't reach our plant, is now in abundance. And that means that the treatment just gets slower and slower.
How will we be notified, or how will the public be notified if we have to go to boiling water status?
It will be on the radio, it'll be in the newspaper, and we'll be going door to door. So we'll hire a bunch of people, and they'll be going door to door, putting out hangers on people's houses, knocking on doors. I have, before questions, I do want to say some of the things that Konocti County Water District has been doing over the years, because water conservation is a big issue, and also would like to talk about water loss. Normally, you know, water districts lose a certain amount of water. It's a given. There's leaks and whatnot, and normally, when I started working here, we lost 40% of our water. So 40% of the water we pumped from our treatment plant to the customers would go in leaks, meters that were broken, and things like that. So over the years, we've built a new distribution system. We've put radio read meters in. We are very aggressive on any type of water leak. We fix it. We don't just fix it, we fix it correctly the first time, where we try to go from the meter to the main if it's a service line leak, so that we don't have to go back and fix that leak again. Right now, we only lose 15% of our water every year. That is a very good number. If you look at industry-wide, we are at the top of water loss. So normally, if you can lose, if you know, we're gold star as far as that goes. So, and the Department of Public Health could probably, I don't know, is that right? 15%?
Yeah, I mean, we usually see, I would say, between 10% and 30% leak. At 10%, we assume that there probably isn't going to be anyway. It's just feeders and things like that that are out of calculation. So, yeah.
Especially if we're around the lake.
So, you got a question?
Yeah, actually I have a couple. Do you guys serve the hospital?
No.
Okay. So the boil water is less worrisome there.
Yeah.
Are you planning on, unfortunately Lake County doesn't currently have an established Graywater program like Mendocinos. Are you planning on pushing Graywater, getting people to wash their dishes in pans, take the water outside, use it to water their plants?
We're formulating a water conservation plan, which is going to hopefully address like what people can do to conserve water. So we're gonna, you know, that's great information, you know, so I haven't got that part yet. So, but yes, so we need to make sure that people are aware of what they can do to conserve water, as well as not just that they need to conserve water, you know.
Shower outdoors.
No, no, shower with a friend, no. But anyways, you know, so no washing your cars, no watering outside stuff, you know, shower every other day if you can. You know, make sure the dishwasher's full when you run it. I mean, there's lots of ideas. Get low flow shower heads and things of that nature. Good question here?
According to your newspaper article, you had 2,000 connections for your...
Yes, over 2,000 connections,
Okay.
yes.
How many of those are commercial and how many are householders?
We've served very, we have like 5 commercial meters.
Are they going to be assessed the same as households? In
Yes.
terms of your fines here?
The commercial places I have don't use as much water. They use very little water. We have H&R Block. We have the cooling cast store. We have this little automotive place that doesn't even work at the body shop that they are not really open. That's it. And then we have the apartment complex.
So none of the marijuana growers are identified as connections?
Well, the marijuana is really not.
It's legal. Why,
Yeah.
why would we keep a track of it?
Yeah, we're
No,
not.
I'm
keeping
not
track.
asking if you keep track of it, I'm just wondering if they're identified for, if you know.
No.
I'm not saying they're legal or illegal.
No,
it's
we're
just
not
you
keeping
know that they're there.
We drive around in our district. We see marijuana everywhere. So, I mean, but there's nothing in Konocti water. We're not trying to, you know, that's causing problems, but that's not what Konocti water is about. We're not, you know, so
No, I'm just.
Did I answer your question?
Yeah, I think so, but
Okay.
I'm just wondering that, you know, I just wanted to make sure that they're going to be, whether they're identified or not.
If they're paying a water bill, they're gonna be assessed the same as everybody else.
As everybody else,
Correct,
okay, thank
yes.
you.
And they
That's all
will
I
be
wanted to know.
fined if they exceed the ultimate usage.
Would there ever be a limit on the number of fines? Because they make a lot of money, and they can probably just say, we'll pay the fine. So
I believe the third one is a jail sentence.
Oh, okay.
Do you have an ordinance that describes your fine structure?
Well, right now, we're trying to implement an emergency ordinance for water conservation.
And it will include that fine structure?
Exactly, yeah, we have to publish that. We have to publish that in the paper so that everybody knows what
Will it
actually
be a
is.
board ordinance or will it be a city ordinance?
It's
City
Konocti
of-
County Water District ordinance. We don't have anything, we are not part of the city as far as ordinances and whatnot.
So does your sliding scale ultimately end in a cutoff of service?
Well, that's what we're gonna try to do. If we can legally do that, then yes. Just-
Yeah, your emergency ordinance will include no outdoor watering?
That's
is that
correct.
correct?
What about Graywater?
You know, they can water with, if they can, you know, like I said, we're gonna do our best to enforce it, but, you know, if somebody wants to use Graywater to water their, you know, they're gonna have a limited amount of water. You know, they're gonna have that 600 cubic feet a month. So if they can water their whatever within that period and still be able to drink water in their house, if that's their priorities, you know, I can't police everyone.
We're not gonna police anyone.
Yeah.
No, we can't.
Yeah.
I'm assuming my swamp cooler, I only use it a few times a month anyway, but the swamp coolers don't use a lot of water.
Actually, they do. If you add 2,000 connections, if I have like, say I have everybody's using a swamp cooler, I see a big increase in my demand.
So
But no, swamp cooler, I mean, if you wanna do that for yourself, not run your swamp cooler as much, that's gonna save you water.
2 questions. One, the gentleman spoke that in '77 when we had this drought that the consumption was less than it is now. How much more water is being used now in comparison to, like, do we have any numbers?
They didn't keep them in 77.
Okay.
But I can tell you that when I first started, we we didn't produce as much water because there was just not as many, there wasn't the influx of the homes that we have now. It was a lot of summer homes. A lot of people just would activate their meter in the summer and then, because they'd come up in the summer and then go in the winter.
And second part, if there was a fire up in the avenues here, and they had to start opening up hydrants and stuff, would there be enough water in the system to
That's a very good question.
fight the fires?
So tomorrow morning I have a meeting, and it's going to be me and Highlands and Golden State Water. We're going to all meet, and we're going to formulate a plan that if there's a fire in either one of our districts and we're short on water, that we're all connected. So Konocti Water has a intertie with Golden State, or with Highlands. Highlands has a intertie with Golden State. So what we would do is whoever needed the water, we would all work together, and supply it for a fire, because that's where we're at right now. Is that I have water in my tanks right now, but if my plant hiccups at all, if I have any issues where I have to shut off, I start losing ground in my tanks, and then when I come back online, I don't have enough water to fill them back up. So every time I have a little issue, my tanks drop a little more, drop a little more, drop a little more, and so last week and the week before, I was able to supplement my water with using Highlands as our emergency intertie. We were getting water from Highlands. They're at a point now where they need to make water, and so we could get water from Golden State, but we've got our treatment techniques down to a point where we're not such a crisis mode as we were like a week ago, but it can change at any time. That's the thing, is the algae changes. It's like, say, right now all my equipment's running at optimum,
Yeah, but it's only 80 degrees today.
It's supposed to be 100 next week.
Yeah, I know.
So, a question back here.
Frank, I'm Jeff Smith, your county supervisor.
Oh, hi, Jeff.
And have you received the stuff from Mark Dillinger as far as what we did in ordinances to show your board?
Yes.
And some ideas of what we did?
Yes, I love your ordinance. It's great. We were going to adopt it today, but I ran it through county council and they said we cannot do that ordinance.
Okay.
It was because the way you advertised that, and it was a part of your conservation plan, that if you implemented it in an emergency, that you could implement it. So you did all of I'm sorry, not you, but the county did all of those things. And then when they said, okay, we want to do this now because it's an emergency, they were able to just do it. So that's what we're in communication with the other water districts, saying, hey, you guys might want to get this conservation plan implemented so that when you do have the emergency, you're not stuck like we are with scrambling to try to come up with
doing everything legally.
Yes.
And the CSA 16, I don't know if that's the one you received or not, but that was went at 500 cubic feet. And the difference with CSA 16 is they have lake water supplement for outdoor water and stuff like that. So their threshold is going to be a little bit less. So the 600 sounds about right. But what sounds way out of whack to me is the fact that you're going to go to 3,000 5 times a daily use before something's done. Where in CSA 16 we went to 750, and then there was a $375 fine with just another half what the daily use was.
Right.
So
it's kind of based off of what we can produce. So maybe when they were setting it up, they were using wells and supplementing and stuff. So we haven't come up with like concrete numbers. Like I said, there's another step in there. I think like it's from 0 to 600 is the normal rate. 600 to 1200 is double the rate, and then from 1200 to 3000 is like triple the rate. Over 3000 is a $500 penalty. I think it's going to be something like that today. So.
Yeah, I guess I would just suggest if you could lower the threshold.
Right. The
high 3,000 down to 3 days use maybe at most.
Definitely a good suggestion. We'll take in that consideration.
Thank you.
You guys made any requests to state or fed?
We've contacted, we have the Operational Emergency Services, the County Emergency Services, and we've we've shouted out to the Department of Public Health. They've been coming and helping us with the treatment stuff.
Well, currently, the federal government is auctioning off portable RO units by the dozens. They're in the state. Some are down in Barstow, some are up near Susanville.
Are you talking about containers for holding water?
No, I'm talking about equipment that runs 3-inch diesel-powered pumps through reverse osmosis. You know.
That's, I mean, the problem with that is we'd have to, it's a process.
I understand.
And to change our treatment, what we're doing now, you know, it would be, you know, that would, it would be good.
It would be great that if you got raw water out of that instead of raw water out of
Correct, that's correct.
You still got to go through the treatment.
Yes. No, but that would be great. I mean,
I'll give you the link.
okay.
Sorry, just to get back to a local concern, I have a huge number of privet trees around the house. If I'm going to stop watering, but if they start dying and turning brown, will the fire department be quick to like find me for a fire? I'm on the very edge of 27th with the canyon.
I don't think so. I wouldn't think that they would be doing
They're kind of
that.
compassionate.
Yeah.
My poor yard, 13 years to get it.
Let me address with the gentleman. I have a Graywater system on my washing machine. And I have a large lot, a triple lot, and I have a vegetation fencing around it, which needs water. I can do it from just the gray water off the washing machine.
And I might add, if you go to the, I think it's the San Francisco, the City of San Francisco's website, for their water, they do have adapters and things that I think you can buy, or they can show you where to get them, that hook on to it, because from our standpoint, from a public health standpoint, it acts as an air gap, the washing machine does. So I have seen that used in other places, other counties.
Waste Supply sells them in Utah.
Okay. Any other questions?
Hi. I want to ask about the potential for cyanotoxins, which as I understand cannot be removed by boiling. If you came to the point of having to issue a boil order, would you accelerate the testing for cyanotoxins?
We don't test for cyanotoxins.
And maybe you wouldn't, but would that public
That's
health
a good
department?
question for them.
That's kind of what I'm doing, is asking.
Yeah, so,
You
you know, we would have to look at the situation at the
Sure.
time. I don't think I want to speak to that now, but
Right.
whether we would issue a boil water order or do not drink order would depend on the situation.
I mean, I assume that's why you're here, is because you're on top of that.
Where,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, and you've been involved, we have done trainings and we have been involved, we have gone around the lake and done cyanotoxins before and cyanotoxins after the drinking water process, and we've never found cyanotoxins in the drinking water.
Right.
In the 2 instances that we've done sampling around the lake. But it is not a regulated contaminant.
Sure.
And so, I mean, I know you know this, but other people
Yeah.
may not. It is not a regulated contaminant in California, or there's not up to a federal EPA standard. So we would have to look at that individually.
Sure, and I'm just speaking because I know the general condition is going to, has the potential for exacerbating the presence of the cyanobacteria and so forth, and we have all of those data gathering problems and all that kind of stuff.
So any other questions? Kristen?
Frank, I just want to make sure you know that, you know, we're here to help you, whatever we can do. If you need to do your backflush water into the sewer system, of course, there may be some time periods that we'd like you to do it. When the flow's down, of course, those times are midnight to 6 or something, but anything we can do to help, just say
9
something.
to 6 would be great.
Okay, so Mark just, I mean, he sent me an email and that's the times he stated.
Okay.
So just contact Mark. We're going to work with you, whichever we can do to help you, so.
That would help tremendously. Right now, we did, last week would have been like, we were backwashing every 4 hours. We've done some treatment stuff. We've got a little better handle on the treatment plant. So just letting you all know, we're making good potable water right now. So that's not an issue. So it may be an issue if we cannot get this conservation thing going. Question?
Does the county or your company have anything to say for people on private wells?
No. Nope.
There's no help for them?
Connect to the water company.
I don't understand your question.
Some of the people in Lake County who are right next to the county service areas are property owners with their own private wells.
Right.
What do they do when it goes dry?
No, I don't know.
There's no, you don't
Yeah,
know.
Maybe I can help you here. We've had a lot of problems in Mendocino County with the same thing, because our district covers Mendocino, Napa, and Lake counties. There are grants there for low-income people that I have seen being used in Mendocino County. So I can, if you want to give me your name afterwards, I can probably give you links from that. It's not through our agency, but I have heard of other agencies that I think is, they may have to go through the county first to get that.
It's not that we're not concerned, it's just that it's outside of our realm.
Jurisdiction.
And also, the water in our district is supposed to stay in our district. Okay, it's the law, we're not supposed to go outside of our district boundaries. So, that's where, we've talked about it in the past, and, we would like to help people with wells, but at this time, we don't have the water to help anybody with the well, for one thing. And for another thing, legally, we can't.
Well, there is we're not supposed to serve anybody out of district, but there are exceptions to that. Pardon?
The emergency interties.
Yeah. Yeah, in an emergency situation.
Yeah. It can filter down to an individual, or to a resident.
So Frank?
Yes.
I just have one more question about population. Mike asked a question about whether this water system serves the hospital. Do you have any special needs, vulnerable population, people in the district that you need to have special water?
I'm sure there are people with, like, say, autoimmune deficiencies and things to that nature. But, we do not keep track of those people. And, obviously they would be wanting to know, about the boil water and things of that. Also we have the apartment complex, but that's, we don't have any type of medical facilities or anything.
Okay, good.
So I'm Sherry Miller. I work for the California Department of Public Health. This is Michelle Fredericks. So she didn't introduce herself, but she's our district engineer. Frank threw out some of those numbers for different rates, and they're very preliminary. I just want to reiterate that because
they're preliminary.
we have not had the chance. I know you haven't discussed them since you've been running around trying to get your plant up and going, and so as they get looked at, they might change a little bit.
Yes.
Different ranges.
So
Actually, I want to break into this point. Frank has nothing to do with the money, because the board deals with the money. He's the operational man. And the board has not said one word about these rates at all, not even discussed them, other than just touch on them occasionally. So you're going way too far for what you're looking for. And I have a question for Frank. Is anyone skimming the clarifier tanks on a daily basis?
Of course.
Good.
They're skimming right now.
Good. And can we do that more? That obviously is helping?
Yes.
Would a temporary employee?
We already have a temporary employee, yeah. So yes.
I'm throwing this out for you folks.
Yeah.
It's not that we're just sitting here like dummies.
Well, what does skimming mean? A lot of people might not know
Well,
what that means.
I don't really want to get into the whole, the sludge is on the top of the clarifiers too as well, and so we're sucking the top of, the clarifiers off. If anybody has any help on treatment stuff, I think this is not the discussion, this is not where I want to talk about it. We can talk about it, I can get your number, we can call and we can talk, for as far as the treatment ideas.
Are you seeing any theft, water theft increase?
Actually, we had 1,000 gallons stolen from one of our meter hydrants over the weekend. So if anybody sees anybody taking water from any hydrant or tampering with the meter, please inform us.
Write down their license number.
Question back there.
Just related to the skimming maybe, since you mentioned algae several times, and it may not be cyanobacteria, but just the amount of algae, I'm wondering what the problem is, if it's not the amount of algae which clogs the system. Is that why it's a problem?
The algae is not reacting to the coagulant, and so the coagulant helps settle the algae out, and the algae is floating instead of sinking. So normally we can kill it and we can make it sink to the bottom, but it's just keep on wanting to float. So then we skim instead of remove it from the bottom, we remove it from the top.
And if somebody would string cheesecloth from Buckingham to the Oaks, we would have pure water.
Yeah.
But we're getting all the garbage from all the rest of the people.
Unfortunately, the wind blows this way down here, and so all the wind where our intake is at Mike Thompson Harbor. So when the wind blows, it blows the algae to us.
So it's the amount of that stuff.
And it's also, the lake is only at 2 feet Rumsey, or what's the Rumsey right now? And
1.4.
yeah. And the temperature of the lake is at 80 degrees right now. So it's really producing a lot of algae, and it's producing a different type of algae than normally we would get at this time.
Do you need his phone number?
What's that?
You need Mike Thompson's phone number? Tell him come get his algae.
Yeah, come get
I have a question for Michelle and Sherry. This type of algae that the coagulants are not affecting, are you guys going to identify that?
Yeah, it is.
I mean, is that a different type than we're used to seeing, or what's going on with that?
Yeah, I mean, that is a watershed question, a much larger question, so I might actually give that back to the county. It is it is not something we regulate, and so it is not something that we have the staff to do.
Sure.
I mean, we try and do extra work to make sure that it's not in the drinking water, but
Right.
the actual identification of it, I know Norm does some and over at Highlands, but it is a different question.
That's the part I find fascinating. You have a type of algae that's not responding to a coagulant. You guys have a billion different pieces of knowledge about the treatment processes. That's an interesting problem.
It is an abnormal heat that's lifted the algae to a level that's not normal.
Lifted the population, the cell count, the what?
Well, it's the water's warmer.
It's converted. It's almost like it's gone from childhood into puberty and just burst forward. The extra heat has created that.
So I'll go ahead.
I'd like to know the name of the coagulant and what it consists of. Number one. Number two, I want you to confirm or deny
Thank you for stopping by.
Yes,
that
there we go.
there's no limit or established amount of microcystins or cyanobacteria toxins that are allowed in the water. Nobody's established a limit that's safe or unsafe. Is that true?
That would be a question for the Department of Public Health, I think.
Okay, what about the name of the coagulant and what's in the coagulant?
I can get you that information after the meeting.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, there is not right now there is not a limit for microcystins.
In
California
drinking water?
Correct. In
That's what I
drinking
thought.
water or through the EPA. The EPA is looking at it as a possibility. They're on their potential contaminants list, but they have not made a determination.
Frank, something I thought of the other day we might try, and we'll get together after the meeting. Maybe there's a way we can set up some of our boom material upwind of the intake to divert some of the surface algae that's blowing around, and then it would actually form almost a clear water pool behind the boom. Or we put one of our longer booms, which is 8 feet, all the way around the intake to try to keep the heavy or the thicker algae away from it.
Our intake is 450 feet out into the lake.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
Okay, then we end up with a light problem where we have to light the boom to be able to do it.
Actually, Jeff, we have spoken over the board meetings about building boxes out from the intake pipe.
Right.
But that requires additional diving and maybe other problems. It didn't, we never were able to take it very far, but these 35 to 40 year bursts, maybe this time we'll deal with it.
Yeah. And how deep is the intake?
Actually, we're on Friday, I'm gonna have somebody with the boat, we're gonna go out there and we're going to measure to see, is to see where we're at right now. But it is normally, it's around 10 feet.
Okay.
So it's very shallow now.
Right.
The hole is 10 feet?
No, there's 10 feet of water now.
Oh, okay. Jeff, in '85, a fellow from the Oaks and another fellow here in town, with a depth finder for fish, went and ran a survey of the lower part of the lake, looking for the depth of the holes. I had some Army Corps of Engineers from the 40s, and in the 40s they listed that particular hole at 65 feet. Excuse me, I said 65, I meant to say 40 feet. The readout with the boat and the fish finder was only 25 feet. I questioned the filling in of these former volcanic openings, and I was told that it didn't matter, that they still filled in, but it compressed, keeping the same amount of water in the lake. But it didn't really make too much sense to me, because the hole we were drawing from was 15 feet shallower than before. So I'm not sure that there's an encompassed knowledge about the depth of these holes. And it's not just us, it's the other 20 or 30 water companies, or 20 water companies that are circling the lake. I don't know if there's any organization that is seeking that information or correlating.
The implication of your comments is that you don't believe that we know the actual volume of the lake at this point.
Well, yeah, that's pretty well covers it.
Thank you for making that statement.
You know, I think recently, just in the last 2 years, USGS was out there and they did a remapping of a lot of the lake.
But they never let us know about it.
Yeah.
Or at least never made it to the board.
Actually, Tom Smythe probably with Water Resources.
And I would say too, I mean, after you've done your survey, if you find that you are projecting that your intake will be out of the water, let us know, and let's start the process for finding what types of funding might be available and things like that to look at moving the intake further out or what needs to be done.
Well, do you not know what the Rumsey depth of your intake is?
I do not.
Well, that would be handy to know.
Yes.
Okay.
Question back there.
Just clarification is that you don't know what the bacteria is or the algae are. You don't know what it is. You don't know if it's toxic, and you don't know how much. Although the health department says there's no toxins in the drinking water, we don't know how much, and we don't know how they know that necessarily, and we don't know how toxic the water is generally.
The lake water.
Lake water.
Actually, in 1977, there doesn't seem to be any information other than the fact that it was pretty low. The whole lake was low. And this is a different, when the water gets this hot, that's when the algae changes to this other form.
No, we should know what that is.
Everyone, I don't know that anyone knows what that is.
Why not?
You're not asking the right person.
Right, well, it's a question that I think would be a health issue at some point.
I think the problem is that there are so many different varieties of algae.
But we still can identify them.
It's actually very difficult to identify them from a laboratory
Right,
standpoint.
but I think it's because of the health issues involved, why isn't it being done?
You know, EPA is looking at whether or not there are health issues. Each of the algae species can make different types of
I know that, we know
byproducts,
that generally,
some of which are toxic. and
but we
some
don't
of
know
which
how
are not.
much.
If you would let her finish, maybe she could help you talk.
But, so it is, I mean, you know, it is something that people are starting to look at, but it isn't, since it's not a regulated contaminant at this point, there aren't resources for it other than EPA's. And some that's, you know, a small amount that the county tries to put in and the small amount that we try to put in. So, I mean, we all are trying to do our best for it, but it is.
Well, I'm just asking because
Yeah.
it's a worldwide situation, it's a worldwide known situation. It's in America, in most of the lakes, and it is a health problem in most counties all over this nation.
And I would recommend that you contact EPA and express that, or contact your legislator.
They know
and express
that. They know that
Yeah,
already.
no, I mean, because we would love funding to, you know.
It's
your
widely,
local level to look
no, I'm
at
just
it.
saying it's widely known that that's an issue.
He's talking about the type of stuff. So, you know, we're a very small district, and we don't have unlimited resources, you know, to go and identify every single specific algae strain that we treat. We just don't have the resources for that. You know, we have 1,750 active connections, 2,000 total connections, serve a population of 4,300 people. You know, we don't have, everybody in our district pays for everything we do. So we don't have the money to go and test for every single type of test that isn't even regulated. We have, you know, we spend a huge amount of money on testing every year. But we can't keep, you know, we'll test when we have issues for stuff, but, you know, that's where we're at right now on testing. So our finished water meets all state and federal standards.
Even though it could be toxic.
If it was toxic, it wouldn't be made into standards.
No, it's getting out purified. It's just taking longer.
So, you know, we've had that cyanobacteria test at our treatment plant.
Oh, yeah.
We tested, it comes in our plant, and it doesn't leave the plant. So, that was, but we don't test that on a daily or monthly basis.
Okay, but you do test for it.
Algae
We
is,
have tested.
algae is a result of longitude and latitude, just like the difference in people. Not one solution fits even sometimes the associated neighborhoods. And incidentally, this algae this is the first time in 35 years that it has got this kind of algae.
Or this bad.
Yeah, well, no, it was 35 years, but nobody tested it then.
But you know what it is?
So, well, we know it's algae.
I believe you already answered that question.
Cyanobacteria is an animal. It's a bacteria. It looks like algae. And it can be called algae, but it's not a plant, like algae. There's a difference.
Gentleman in front here.
Okay, I don't want to get involved in the cyanobacteria versus algae argument at the moment. You have had a successful water treatment process using flocculant that sinks the algae, kills it and sinks it, and that's not successful at this point. You're having floating algae. Okay. And the presumption is we're talking about algae, not cyanobacteria. You know, can we get the county? Can you ask the county to come test this floating back? Well, hang on a second, because you've already made the point that you guys are the canary in the lake.
Yeah.
Okay. So it would behoove the county at this point to know if we have a new, different strain of algae that is not going to be responsive to the normal flocking treatment, which you're not the only district that uses, and taking that sample of the stuff that you're not being able to kill with the flocking and sending it to Davis, who has a lab that can identify it, would be a cheap expenditure on the part of the people of the county, because there are 17 some water districts that may end up with the same
Well, we do
problem.
have a supervisor here, so, I mean.
I'm well aware.
right now, we're doing our best to make potable water, and that's what I mean, I don't have time, I mean, right now, I'm not over at my plant right now. So for every minute we're talking here, you know, I mean, we're making water, don't get me wrong, but I need to be doing things. So this is a good thing, I'm not saying this is not good, but it's just I have a limited amount of time, and so everybody's really been helping and coming on board and doing so if anybody here wants to make phone calls and talk to people and do things like that, have at it. Have at it. But we need to make water, and we need to get the conservation really going here. You know. Question?
I don't mean to digress, but I just have, before I forget, because the connections were going to be assessed per house, per connection, right? It doesn't matter how many people are in that household.
That's correct.
Do you expect any blowback from people like, say, you know, when there's like 2 or 3 families living in a house and maybe 15 people living there, are they going to say, well, we deserve to get more? Which could be a ruse. I mean, who knows?
You know, I don't really know. We've never done this, so.
It's all new.
Yeah, we'll find out when we hit there.
Yeah.
So Frank, I have seen in other districts, like in Mendocino County, where they're really literally running out of water. They have some provisions for people with medical issues in there. I have seen provisions for people that have extended families in there, extended people. So I don't, that's your decision, but I have seen those things.
Would you share that information with Frank at the end of the meeting?
It would just be hard for us, I mean, you know.
Yeah, you don't want to police that.
To policing, like how many people are in the house. And then so we're going to have 1,700 conversations about how many people they have in their house. That's just really not doable. You know, we can't, we're not the water police. We try though, I mean, we're doing our best. So, question?
Yeah, you could make a procedure where someone could appeal that amount based on certain qualities, that you could lay that out in your informational material if you wanted to make an exception for a number of people in the house or something.
How would we prove, how would we verify how many people actually are living in the house? Because you could just say that you had 6 people living there because you want more water. So, and you know, and so are you going to have 6 utility bills? I mean, you know, how would we?
Plus, there are limits for how many people can live in a household, isn't there?
First thing we'd look for is a 6-foot wooden fence. We're trying to be realistic here. I express it in humor, but this is an initial meeting. We're glad to see you people.
Yes.
And we're glad for the input. And I'm hearing things that are beneficial. So keep it up. Don't be shy.
In the article on Lakewood News, you mentioned something about the proliferation of marijuana gardening as a consumer of excess water, and you know how much water that takes. Have you contacted does the city have some kind of a rule that says it's okay to do that, or what's the deal with that?
The city has an ordinance, so.
That lets people have.
Well, it's.
They have an ordinance, the city of Clear Lake, and it calls out all of that information.
I see.
So.
I would suggest you get a copy of it.
I certainly will.
There's, I think, 3 or 4 pages, 4 pages of information before it gets to the law.
At this point, it doesn't really matter if it's marijuana or if it's tomato trees. We can't, we can't produce the water. So it's really not, the marijuana is not, it is an issue, but for now, I could care less about marijuana. People need to just not grow anything outside. That's where we're at.
It's easy.
Frank, first off, I wanted to say thank you for all the countless hours that you're putting in the plant.
Thank you.
Trying to keep things up and going. Question I kind of had about back to fires and stuff. Does the water company have to keep a certain amount of water on hand for emergencies? I know that you're saying that you're producing approximately 500,000 gallons of water a day. I'm guessing the usage is probably about the same since you're just holding your own. but is there an amount of reserve that you have to have on hand in case there is like a huge fire that you have to use your water? Is that gonna put you so far back that you can't get caught back up?
That's a great question, and basically what I have to do, I have to keep enough water in my tanks to maintain system pressure.
Okay.
So people have to have 20 psi pressure in their system, so whatever water is left after that can be used for whatever purposes. But like I said, we are going to try to formulate a plan that if there is a fire, because that's my concern right now too as well, is that, you know, we're going to get to a point where we're not going to be able to produce enough water to fight fires as well, and we're not even to the bad fire season yet.
Do you know how much water, I mean, I don't know exactly what it takes, and I don't know if any fire people are here, but I know that like when the old YZ burned, it was several hundred thousand gallons of water, I think. Now, is there enough water on hand that if something like that happened, is there a possibility it could run out? And if it does run out or run to a point where it's so low and you lose that pressure, what kind of problems can it create on the system?
I'd have to do a boil or water notice when the pressure reaches below 20 psi, and in the majority of the system it would be a boil water notice.
Okay.
But at that point, what we're doing is we're going to coordinate with the fire department though tomorrow, and we're going to make it so that if there is a fire, the fire department will notify us, you know, as soon as they can, and we'll get the other plants to try to, you know, supplement each other with water to fight the fires. But what happens when Golden State is having issues and Highlands is having issues and I'm having issues, if we all start having issues, you know, hopefully not. Kristen Barker?
I apologize for being late, but I live over on 28th in Wilkinson, down on Wilkinson Avenue. And I know on 28th they got probably 9 weed yard grows with over 25 to 50 plants. But my thought here, I was out working. Epidemia just delivered probably 5,000 gallons worth of water right in one of the weed Duncan tanks over there, and they're there right now, pumping it into them. So point given, you know, I read your letter, and of course I got concerns. You can't even water Austin Park, you know, and it worries me that what I'm going to be drinking here for the next year or two.
We cut off Epidemio and Action Sanitary from water deliveries about 2 weeks ago, so that I seen Epidemio's water trucks down at the lake. So that's actually probably a good thing for as far as the water district is concerned, that they have their tank and they're getting deliveries, as long as you don't see any Epidemio trucks hooking up to a hydrant, because nobody right now has any permission to hook up to hydrants right now.
So is Epidemio just allowed to pull water out of the lake and then they don't have to pay for it?
I don't know.
That's not our problem.
Frank, on the fire issue?
Yes.
Make sure I'm sure they know about it, but make sure you raise with the fire department that they should be in touch with CAL FIRE, because CAL FIRE has done training this year on using the basket for urban fires.
CAL FIRE.
So, you know, if you have a major problem, ask for CAL FIRE response with the helicopter.
And in response to the gentleman in the back, I mean, if you see that that's going on all in your neighborhood, the only thing you can do is call the sheriff.
You know, I don't want to cause no trouble. I've got acreage and a lot of valuable stuff on my property.
Just write down that.
But honest to God, I don't want to get in the mix, but I
Sure.
just thought it's quite clear that I got to go through this.
Just write the license number down and call the water company. You don't have to make a complaint to the police.
I would.
Just bring the information to us.
Well, they're there now, and they have been making deliveries for the last month, for that matter.
Well,
The tank's been coming.
I'm on 27th, and most of the people who go up 28th, who live on 28th, go up 27th.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen Epidemio on that road.
I haven't either. This is a new one on me, but he bought in a big tanker.
I saw that water tank they were dropping off last week out there.
Yeah, they got two of them now on that acreage out there.
That's good.
Frank, you know, it just came to mind that, you know, us that live on the lake and stuff, and we have in my case, Golden State Water, I have to have a backflow device. These homes up here probably don't have backflow devices, but
Some of them do, Jeff.
do they?
Yeah.
Well, if you have it seems to me like if they have a tank in their yard getting water from some other source, it should be a requirement that there's a backflow device on their water meter.
I bet you though that those lots are undeveloped that don't have a water meter. I mean, but if they do have a tank in there,
Well,
and they have
if
a
they're
water meter.
undeveloped, they're illegal anyway, I wouldn't go there.
Yeah.
Well, that's my issue. It's just so hard to get involved because talking about burning us out, that's what will happen if we piss off the Mexicans. And I'm not, my wife's Hispanic. It's not, I'm talking cartel.
Yeah, I understand. You know, it's the unspoken
It's a
issue up
concern
here.
for all of us.
And I live in the district. I live on 28th. I know exactly what you're talking about. It's a concern. You know, right now, we're not in the marijuana business, we're in the potable water business. So that's my take on the marijuana situation.
Well, I can justify the marijuana just as much as I can justify the silly grape issue, but that's another life there too. But I mean, yeah, I just thought that's why when I was out working and I seen this, I says, golly, they're having a meeting today, I gotta report it. Just to know.
Thank you very much, though.
Yeah.
It's appreciated, and that's what.
But is there anything I can do down in there, talking about fires? I'm cutting back, that's what I'm doing today, Adams Ranch area, because I have acreage in there. I'm cutting back some of that grass that's growing back in there to help out fire issues.
Any other questions?
Just a comment, thanks you guys for doing what you're doing and having a special meeting. Like I said, whatever we can do to help, holler. I will have Carolyn Rattan contact you about the algae.
Okay.
And maybe she can come get a sample, see what she can do.
That would be great.
I would like to say as well, that, thank you for what you're doing. Also that our guy Schott, who is one of our water treatment experts, will be back next week. And if he's at all available, we will send him over to do more testing.
Awesome. We will be holding a larger meeting in a public building about the same matter. It's a condition of getting the emergency declaration. And we hope you'll come again, even though you may hear the same answers and probably not much in excess of this. But you'll see some of your neighbors expressing perhaps a more personal position that's interesting and should be considered. So I hope to see you all.
Yes, sir. I belong to the Lower Lake Action, Community Action Group. Is there a way we can get a spokesperson at one of our meetings? We have like once a month.
You mean at the water company?
From the water company to go down and explain, because there's farmers, ranchers, Ellis, and all of them.
Normally, I would say I'd be right down. I just don't really have the time to come address you at this point. You know, maybe after, after the, if I'm doing better later, but not now. I just don't have.
We have a dinner and
right.
We have an action person there, whether they're about the clams or about anything that.
I think those community action groups are great. You know, all you guys who live in our district need to be going out, or even in the community, need to be communicating with your friends and neighbors and discussing these issues. You know, because the bottom line is that we need the water for people to drink and to be able to flush their toilets and to fight fires. That's what we need the water for. And we're at the point where if it continues the way it is, you guys, nobody's going to have potable water.
So we need to boil it. Is this?
No.
Conserve.
Just conserve, but.
Because he said something about in your letter, boiling the water can be our next step?
It will be if we cannot keep the demand down. So.
Spread the word.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.